original question about how do we increase the representation of women issues in the mainline media. So, to that, I wanted to say that maybe there is a need for some sort of a structural uh, change in the format of newscasting. You know, what we see now in the mainline news channels and also newspapers is reduction in reportage. Uh, in the news channels, you have studio discussions most of the time, in fact all the time, because it's cheaper to do that and it's less cumbersome, less stressful. So when you're having a discussion, then obviously you're following a direction or a directive. You're not really covering the issues which matter. So maybe there is a need to do something like that. Or in online media, or maybe the independent media, if you have a dedicated section, maybe on a weekly basis or a fortnightly basis, only on gender issues, then you would be forced to
Absolutely.
produce different stories, and not necessarily on Muslim women, but women per se. Because a lot of problems that women in India or Muslim women in India face are universal. All women face
I
those
didn't want to
issues.
interject, but I really want to ask: Is there a consumption issue? Why aren't these things? These seem so. I mean, these seem like no-brainers. Why don't these things happen?
I think, how do we know if there's a consumption issue if there is no supply? If if you have a structured format, if you have a weekly for an hour-long program on something pertaining to women, and there are no takers for it, there's no advertising for it, or your TRPs are don't match, then only then you can judge whether this has a market or not.
No,
But
Ghazala, I think where I agree with Arfa is I think why that also has so much traction is because of the whole algorithm and echo chamber thing. See, I get your stuff because I'm me.
Yeah.
Um, I don't watch Arnab because I'm not that. So maybe I'm just thinking maybe the mainstream media there are consumption issues about this because the kind of people who want to read you are reading you. The issue now is how to get to
no,
yeah.
I agree. So maybe the echo chamber is one part of it. Even Arnab, for all his faults, he can also have, he need not anchor it. There's no need to anchor it. They can have a reportage based an hour long program once a week or once a fortnight. The advertising or the consumption is not the point here. The point is the commitment to do it, the desire to do it. If you're not
Yeah,
committed to
I
a
think you're
particular
harking
issue,
back to the whole issue that journalism really has to be more than it has to be a public good. I mean, you cannot leave it to issues of demand and supply.
no,
There has to be something else.
no, that is why it
Yeah.
was called the fourth estate. I mean,
Yes.
this
Yes.
is a public service
Yes.
profession.
Yes. Yes, please, please. So actually, let me start since आप बोल ही रहे हैं. All the questions that are coming, obviously, I mean, I think because there are journalists and good journalists at that here on this panel, and I think people are very convinced that the issues have been very feelingly sort of conveyed. So all the questions that I'm getting are about resolution. So placement कितनी हुई है? हम डबल मार्जिनलाइजेशन हो रहा है, इसका क्या किया जाए? The questions that I've also triple कैसे? हाँ, triple हो गया. Gen poor, poor. It's very interesting that you say that, Arfa, because quite different from this in my world of academics. I have been studying financial inclusion and gender, and वो करते करते somehow it led me to Muslim women. And after this is very survey based and huge sample surveys and things like that, and then finally जब qualitative rounds होने लगी तो actually one thing that again and again came up is that बाकी सब problem छोड़िए, अभी इतना polarization है. This was in UP, इतना polar, घर से बाहर कौन निकलने देगा औरतों को? पहले तो पैसे ही नहीं है, बैंक की जरूरत क्या है, फिर भी औरतों के बैंक अकाउंट की जरूरत क्या है, फिर बाहर जाना इस माहौल में. So I suppose those are the stories we want told. Those
No,
stories
and
that a Muslim woman finds it even more difficult than an ordinary woman who anyway finds it difficult to go to the bank to go to the bank.
that's
You know,
correct. And
those
let me
are
just add,
difficult stories to tell.
let me just add a personal story to it, because since personal is professional, professional is
Yes,
personal.
everything is.
I mean, it was 1992, December 1992, demolition of Babri Masjid, right? I used to live in a small town called Khurja. It's in Bulandshahr district. There was just one school where they taught
Khurja.
science. Khurja.
Oh,
Khurja is the
that's
pottery city.
ceramic.
The
Oh,
pottery
yes,
city,
it's
yeah.
very, yeah.
My beautiful
Yeah,
pottery city, which
lovely.
was destroyed by these majoritarian thugs. Anyway, so it was 1992. I was in school, and there was only one government school that taught science, and that was in the Hindu majority area. Trust me, the same choice, whether, not choice, I'm saying same compulsion, whether you want your girls to be safe or you want your girls to be educated.
Yes.
There used to be more than a dozen Muslim girls in my class. At the end of the session, there were hardly two.
My God.
And finally, only one girl who was able to appear for the board exams. And this was not just 1992, this was 94, because things don't improve overnight. Even 30 years down the line, it is a divided town. 30 years down the line, there are complete demarcation between Hindu areas and Muslim areas. By 1994, when I passed 10th exams, I was the only Muslim girl to have appeared for the exam and passed. And I know my father took considerable risk to my life, um, and his, and the safety of his family, that people could have accused him later that he compromised if something, could have happened to me. So that's the kind of choice that I'm talking about.
These are, it continues to be difficult, and one wonders.
And whenever I think about all those 11 young girls who could never make it to class 10th and 12th, could never go to college, could never really have a life and a career for themselves.
Yes.
Actually, the problem lies with after 90s, when the journalists have become divided in left, right, and middle. And after in 1992, the first incident when journalists were attacked in large numbers during Babri Masjid demolition. And after that, the things have been deteriorated in such a way that each journalist has been categorized from their views and ideologies. And this is a very, very dangerous trend where journalists are marked with some ideology. And the dilemma is this, that in current present situation, most of the journalists who are even left or right or center, they have lost their credibility. The situation is this: the society is not looking forward anyone from that objectivity and that the journalist holds prior to 90s, who are coming in this profession, because there are so many ugly faces which we are seeing regularly on media, that most of us have lost that conception, that its integrity and credibility. Then first we have to we have to achieve that, again, the credibility aspect, whether it is print or electronic. But that fearless journalism requires a lot of pain, and the younger generation needs to come, who wanted to really worth to contribute the society, not for this passion, for glamour, for money. Most of the people are coming for this profession to earn money. Even in actuality, there is no money now left, because so many media houses are not giving that much of money to even survive. Once Mr. Kamal Khan has come, and he said that even not girls, when the boys, somebody looks forward for a bride, then the peoples are not willing to take journalists as their their brides. So this is the fact, because they think that journalists are not good people in the society. They are working like this and this. They have a lot of, because what we see, it reflects, and the peoples are not giving that much of honor which earlier peoples, the journalists have. And because it is not the girls only that only they are fearing to come into this profession. Even boys families are getting a good relation for their getting difficulty. But still the particularly for because Urdu population is having different problems which is faced by presently, it still needs a strong Urdu media, which still we have not able to establish in terms of good number of journalists like Arfa. We need at least 10 journalists if we produced in a year. I think the many of the problems of this wrong portrayal of Muslim women and Muslim issues may be solved, because one Kamal Khan is enough for solving so many problems, and one Ravish Kumar is uh, uh, daring enough to challenge all the people, all the society and the people who are involved in this ugly phase of polarization. Then we need such people to come in this noble profession and again to gain this, that the credibility that we have lost. And I think Urdu journalism in the coming days requires much more contribution from the Urdu speaking community, because see, Urdu community is not belonging to a region, because Urdu speaking population is spread in different pockets. Then it has the challenges is more, because some Bengali Muslim, their problem is different, some Gujarati, Marathi, like that.
Yes.
But if you have specific regions, then the problem may be identified and can be solved. But the Urdu, for Urdu, it is a more than that.
Yeah.
And it is still that Urdu media, whether it is digital, whether it is electronic, or whether it is print, they have to look into these challenges very seriously. And being our department, which is only one department which is producing UG and PG course and PhD also, we have also a lot of responsibility towards society, that those students who are going, who are passed out from the department, even going to regional media or mainstream media or vernacular media, they should serve the society, not only the community or some specific community. The language they serve, but they should they should be
Ji.
quality product.
Ji.
Our focus is on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and let it not be said we didn't let a man have the last word. And really, it's a privilege to share the panel with women of substance like you guys. Cool. Really, thank you so much. Thank you.